he's still got his face will always need developing because she hung on it. But the consistency, the daily maintenance and the pattern, it gives him a lot of confidence. And then he really will hunt to work for you. And I work him in that bid, and then I compete on him in that nose deal because he has a lot of feel on his nose because they didn't wear it out. Kind of like riding your brakes. They just kind of burned his mouth up riding on him all the time and took the feel out of it. And so that's why when I got him to compete, I chose to put that steel hackamore on him. Well, it was a bit that I made into a hackamore because he still has his nose, right? And he's still sensitive there. So, and just the daily work of the consistency of position, pattern, he needs that. He'll win, but he needs that because if you don't keep it there, they let him just kind of fall around the turn because he was so talented that then he gets in a bind because he's so fast. So, yeah. At second and third, you really could feel it. At first, I saw him every time you let go of him, he was, that'll quit.
Yeah, just kind of shorten his stride and try to
Yep. Yep.
Well, hey everybody, I'm Lee with Olsen Equine, and today we got a special guest. This is the famous Kelly Conrado. Say hi. And we have Summer Kozel with us too.
Oh, hi.
So it's Jamie is riding one of Kelly's horses right now, and they're just kind of getting used to each other and acclimated a little bit. And Kelly, how's that horse bred?
He's by French Streak to Vegas, and then he's out of a daughter, a Colonel Freckles, that's out of a daughter at EasyJet.
Nice.
Yep.
Pretty much perfect on paper.
Yep, he's kind of perfect everywhere.
Color to boot, and good feet.
Color to boot, good feet, good conformation, and moves like a badass.
Check, check, check.
Yes, sir. That's why I got him.
That's awesome. So Jamie is a professional barrel racer, and she's trying to make the NFR, like a lot of you know. But Kelly has been very influential in helping her, and we're very thankful for him. And now we're just riding this horse and seeing where that goes. But our other guest, Summer, that's with us, she's hanging out. She's from South Dakota, like Jamie and I, and she set the arena record at Cheyenne this year. Very big feat, considering how old that record is.
I was there when that record was set by
year?
Christy Peterson.
Oh, awesome.
I don't remember the year, but I was there. My son was a little boy, so it was a long time ago because he's 30.
So we're talking about Christy Peterson and Bozo set the arena record at Cheyenne, and with all the great horses that come along since then to now, what kind of a compliment is it to Summer to win, to set the arena record?
Pretty awesome. It was a pretty spectacular run. I saw it on video. I didn't see it live.
Thank you. It was more of a compliment. Christy actually messaged me and congratulated me, so that was
Awesome.
nice of her.
I don't know if you could hear it on the mics, but she said the greatest compliment was Christy Peterson messaged her to compliment her. That's a classy lady right there.
Yes.
That's awesome. So if you don't take anything else away from the video, be classy.
There you go.
It's awesome. Everybody will forget what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk barrel racing right now. So what do you see right now, Kelly? What's going on? What are we trying to do other than going around a barrel?
Well, what Jamie and I are working on right now is building her rapport with this horse, and she's working on getting him to step up and under her and make his move with as little effort as possible from her hand. And we've been working on this with all of our other horses, and now we're kind of stepping into this new adventure with this horse. He's probably one of the coolest prospects I've ever rode. And I felt like Jamie would give him the consistency in the daily work in his pattern because of what we've accomplished with our other horses and our commitment to the process, that we're just starting to develop that right now. And I'm just watching where he's placing his feet and how he's stepping up under her when she sits in her saddle, and I'm just looking for him to stay off her hand and move forward around that turn with as little guidance as necessary. And he's really starting to respond to her. The first time she took him through, every time she'd let go of him, he'd kind of step away from the turn, and now he's hunting the turn again for her.
Do you think that's just him starting to trust her?
Yep. Well, getting the feel of her body and everybody's signals, even if we have the same theories and we work together continuously on our pattern and implementing our process, it's going to feel a little different with every person. You know, Jamie's like 5'2" and I'm 5'10" and a half. So I'm going to feel different sitting on him with the same cues than she's going to feel on him. And he's got to develop that confidence in her feel and just the subtle changes in her cueing.
Yeah.
But he's pretty responsive, and he's starting to come around pretty quickly and he's getting settled with her. Like, he's starting to let down and just move a little longer and a little more fluid with her.
Do you feel like this working on confidence and the slow work is the norm in barrel racing, or do you think it's the opposite?
I don't, because what I feel like I see in this day and age is a whole lot of immediate gratification and people not willing to do the consistent slow work that it takes to be consistent winner. I'd rather see somebody that wins 4th place every single rodeo than somebody that jumps out there and wins a rodeo and then hits 3 barrels and then hits another rodeo, wins another rodeo. So, and I'm a big believer, and we implemented this both when Paige was rodeoing hard and with Ivy and Tibby, is that consistency of daily maintenance. I feel like an ounce of daily maintenance in your pattern and your footwork is worth a pound of cure. One thing I've found with a large majority of the women, whether they're professionals, amateurs, or your local ladies, is if the horse starts doing good, they start petting them more, riding them less, feeding them more, and then wonder why everything goes to shit. And I'm a believer in feeding them well, keeping them shod well, keeping their vet work up, and the daily maintenance in the pattern of footwork, because that daily maintenance in the pattern gives those horses confidence. And if they're really secure in where they're going, you're going to get their full stride because they're comfortable. You're going to get the most reach you can get because they're comfortable, and you're going to get a better performance because they trust you. And that all just comes from that day-to-day maintenance in my mind. And it doesn't have to be hard work. It just needs to be enjoyable for them and consistent. Same thing, same place, every time.
That's awesome. And that's how you end up getting rodeo horses that go in there and work every single time, no matter the circumstances, right?
Yep, absolutely, without question.
Well, let's talk about shoeing a little bit. So, as you've been helping Jamie, I feel like you've opened my eyes to a lot of things. But the short version is that when we started, Jamie's hind leg of the horse wasn't close enough to the barrel, right?
Right.
So then the horse is kind of doing this airplane thing where the barrel's here and they go around and their head is super close, but their body is farther away. And then what I've found through shoeing lots of barrel horses on our schedule is that those horses that turn like that are the ones that demand traction and concave and all this crazy amounts of traction in general.
To stand up.
Yeah.
And then they tear themselves up because their body's not natural and it's out of position.
Yeah, you're putting all that weight on not only one limb, but one specific branch of that shoe on one limb.
Yep. I think it's really important for a horse to stand up and move forward in four-wheel drive all the way around the barrel, keeping the barrel in the middle of the turn so that you keep that forward motion and you keep that horse stood up as naturally straight as they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I always equate that back to the fact that you don't see a horse run up to a fence 9-0, 10 feet before the fence, move out, make a pocket, and turn back. That horse runs straight up to the fence, sets down on its hind leg, and rolls straight out. And very seldom do they hurt themselves doing that. I think that 90% of the soundness issues come from positioning and training, and I think a huge part of it's riding the outside rein, which I absolutely despise, because when you ride the outside rein, you change the plane of the horse and you point him in at the shoulder, and then when you let go of that rein, it slingshots him back, which puts torque in all the wrong places on their body. It's the most unnatural, physically challenging turn for a barrel horse. And I just, anybody that knows me knows that I absolutely hate the outside rein.
So to explain exactly what you're talking about, so when you're running to the first barrel,
instead of running in there, sitting down, lifting on your inside rein at the cross and shaping your horse to turn, you run to the barrel with the nose slightly tipped to the outside because you're balancing on your rein, which is the furthest from the barrel. That changes the horse's plane of their shoulder, and you're now pointing the shoulder at the turn. Then you sneak the shoulder by, let go of the outside rein, and wheel them back around it. And it just puts their body in a terrible position.
So those are those horses that dump on their front end and they like splatter on the backside, right?
Well, on rodeo ground, they splatter. On futurity and jackpot ground, they kick your ass 1 or 2 runs. They don't do it consistently. There's no consistency there because you cannot do that turn consistently.
Do you think that is a factor of why some people say futurity horses don't make rodeo horses, is because they were trained in that fashion instead of the way that you would prefer?
So for the whole fallacy of people saying that futurity horses won't make rodeo horses is really, in my mind, a bunch of bullshit, because if you look at how many horses are winning at the rodeos that came from the futurities, so I don't really think you can attribute that to it, but what you can attribute to it is the number of horses with soundness issues, the shortness of the longevity of a horse's career, and a lot of the inability of those horses trained on the outside rein to handle the different varieties of ground that you have to run on to compete at rodeos. When you have a horse that will really stand up and take responsibility for the turn and not balance on the outside rein, that horse can handle very adverse conditions because it handles its body correctly. And then to put my other spin on that is, which I've talked to you about, is the shoeing. I'm a huge proponent in no hind shoes, and you and I have visited about that. I think that you have to, because the forelimbs and the hind limbs work so dramatically different, you have to take that into accountability, and I think it's really important to have front shoes on these horses, and I think it's really important to not have any shoes on the hind end. I feel like the horses that have no shoes on the hind end handle ground better. I feel like they have a natural rim in that foot. I don't feel it. I know that they have a naturally sharper rim in that hind foot. that gives them better traction. I also know that they can actually feel the ground better, and I've seen horses handle it better with no hind shoes. And a perfect example of that would be in 2017 when Ivy won the NFR average on J-Lo. When we got J-Lo, the first thing we did was pull her hind shoes. And if you look back through all of those runs, the 15 runs each night, she is one of the only horses that did not have ground trouble at all. And I attribute that to the fact that she had no hind shoes. If you look at 2016, and the ground was pretty treacherous then, there were some problems in a couple of round performances with a young horse and a young rider, but you'll see overall Tibby had zero ground trouble where other horses were, and I know that's because she had no hind shoes. And we can attribute that to a lot of rodeo successes where people weren't successful. And I think the other side of that too is we've had a lot less maintenance necessary behind than most people.
I like how I like everything that you're saying, but Kelly's being pretty modest when he says Tibby. He's talking about Tibby Stinson, and she has won $650,000. Is that right?
With prizes, yes. Yep.
That's a
$550 cash. She's won a truck, a Ranger, just a ton of stuff. She's just a true gift. And we raised her, and Ivy won on her mom, and that family of horses on the maternal side has won clear back into the 50s. So it's been very rewarding to have her.
It's pretty amazing, and a credit to your breeding program for sure. But so J-Lo is the same, right? Isn't she in the similar family?
J-Lo is out of Misty's Dash to Fame, and by Frenchman's Fabulous. I was going to say her name, but she's by Frenchman's Fabulous. So there is some similar breeding there, but J-Lo belongs to Kenny Nichols and Darren. And they, that family, that mare that J-Lo's out of, has to be the all-time greatest producing barrel mare in history, because her list of winners is longer than my arm. One of which is by our senior stallion, Dark Kelly, or our Mr. Kelly. Up until there became the all of the breeders' incentives, he was the all-time highest money-winning futurity horse in history.
So that's another thing that Kelly's being modest about. He owned Dark Kelly and had him for a long time, and
yeah, I think we had him 11 years before we had to put him down.
That's awesome. And I shot him for a while when he was at the vet clinic for you guys, and
yep.
what a great life he got to live. That was pretty cool. You know, one thing that everybody's got a theory, and anybody can get on camera and tell their story and sound convincing, especially when you're saying that we won, so now it works. But tell us how many injections Tibby Stinson and J-Lo have in their hocks, because hocks and barrel horses get pretty sore from all of the different grounds, and deep ground, soft ground, hard ground, and so on and so forth, right? So your theory on barefoot, how does that relate to the injections?
Well, I can't say for J-Lo because Ivy manages all of her well-being, and Ivy's an adult, and she, of course, so I'm not involved in that level anymore. But Tibby has had minimal hock injections in her life, and she never had her hocks injected until after the first NFR. and truthfully, Dr. Tischer just did it just because. Right. He said, I can't say that she needs it, but were going to do it. And I can't say that it changed her performance. I just can't say that it changed her. We did it. I think it was more, honestly, there were some problems there from the NFR that were hard on Ivy because of the performance, and I think that everybody was looking for a reason, and that's really why he did it. But her injections have been minimal. I mean minimal. The only thing that we've really had to manage on her is her right stifle, which is crazy because that's the same stifle we had to manage on her mom. So, and there's nothing there in the x-rays. There just gets a fluid buildup. But other than that, nothing. And she still can't wait to go down the alleyway and do her job. And to me, when you create the consistency and the pattern and the confidence and the trust, that's why horses like her and J-Lo, you know, those horses want to just keep going down the alley for you because they love their job because you've made it easy for them.
Yeah, you were talking about Louie earlier today.
Yep, Louie, huge fan. Stingray, all those horses, they were done correctly, and they were given the time to mature and grow, and the consistency in the pattern and the consistency in the riding, and that's what made them great.
And how long did both of those horses compete?
Louis, I think when Lisa retired him, was 19, and still really could still win.
That's awesome.
And Stingray, I think she was 15 when Sherry retired her, but ran her one more time at Calgary after that. And, you know, that's the other thing, being able to be friends with both of them and knowing how they manage their horses and knowing the consistency of their conditioning program, the consistency of their pattern, the consistency of their feeding, the consistency of their overall program is what gave them the longevity with those horses.
Absolutely. So it works.
Proven fact, process always works. That's science, that's not my theory.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I hope everybody learned something from this. I know I did. And whenever you can get around good people, I think it's a huge asset. So, quickly, how important do you think it is for farriers to have knowledge of what a barrel horse does for a living?
Well, I think it's extremely important because our discipline requires a horse to go extremely fast. In the turns, it requires a horse to be able to break over all around its foot. And I think that when a shoer understands that and understands how to keep a toe pulled back, a heel supported, it creates longevity in your horse. And the consistency of keeping a toe pulled back and keeping those heels supported keeps that horse's foot healthy, which allows you to compete at a higher level because you're not having any sting.
Absolutely. You know, speaking of that, we're about to go shoe one of your young horses right now. Tell us about what's going on there. Why are you here?
Well, I, of course, sent you a text message when I was riding him yesterday. I had some concern about where his feet were headed, and I of course, futuritied his mother. I futuritied his full sister. He's by Dark Kelly, so I really understand the history of these horses' feet and the struggles we had with his mom, the struggles we had with his full sister, and I started seeing his feet change direction, and he's too talented to get behind the 8-ball and then be headed into the futurities and fighting his feet. So I asked you to add a 3D pad to him, and let's address it now before it actually turns into something.
You know, it was your statement, but I think it was also Teddy Roosevelt's too, that an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure.
Yeah,
Or was
it's
that
my
Henry
favorite.
Ford?
I don't know who said it, but
They were right.
That's my favorite. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I say that and let it go. Don't ride the last run. Ride the run that's in front of you. So those are my two favorite sayings.
And follow the process.
Follow the process, I say all the time. All the time.
Well, good stuff. We'll let you guys get to riding, and I'll shoe your horse so you can ride.
All right.
Thank you very much. Always appreciate you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, and God bless America.